Good evening, countrymen and women. Welcome to this live telecast brought to you by Movie TV with support from the Center for Trade Policy and Development. My name is Isaac Mwaipopo. I am the Executive Director at the Center for Trade Policy and Development. So this evening is a very interesting evening, being the first time that we are airing this program. We decided that we should look at the state of the Zambian economy to just share some of our perspectives and thoughts with regards to how things are happening in our country. Of course, borrowing examples in terms of what is happening within the region, as well as what is happening in the global village in terms of issues related to the economy. So remember, this is a program that you can actually call in and share some of your views. I will be sharing a number that you can get in touch with me to interact and share some of your questions, comments, so that we can have a program that is very engaging. So before I get into the details of our discussion this evening, I would want to begin by briefly giving an explanation in terms of who we are as an institution. So the Center for Trade Policy and Development is a local economic think tank that has been working with like-minded civil society organizations to champion the use of trade and investments. So CTPD was established in 1999. Initially it was called the Civil Society Trade Network, and by then the focus was pretty much focused on gender and trade. But later on the institution rebranded following the growing demand for the work that the institution was doing, and the feeling from the network members that the institution should actually start focusing on broader themes related to trade and investment. And it moved on to become the Center for Trade Policy and Development, from being known as a Civil Society Trade Network. So currently we are based here in Lusaka, and we have a number of programs that are running. Some of the programs that we have in-house that you might be interested to know about includes a program that we have focusing on mining. With regards to this program, we are basically trying to see the extent to which the local communities that are hosting mining investments are benefiting from the resources that they are endowed with. I'm sure some of you live in places like Sinazongwe, some of you live in places like Solwezi, and some of you might be watching this program from Mufulira. And you might agree with us from the Center for Trade Policy and Development that in these communities or towns that you live in, there are activities that are happening related to mining. In some of these communities, minerals such as copper are mined out. There are minerals like gold in some places like Mwinilunga, which is now being exploited. So when you come to the Center for Trade Policy and Development and interact with our extractives desk, it is information of that kind that we might be in a position to provide. We also have another desk within the institution that focuses on trade and development. This is what actually informs our core mandate as an institution. So under this desk, we have programs or activities that are focusing on things such as the recent development on the continent, where African countries decided to come together and reduce the barriers that have been affecting the movement of goods and services under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement Initiative. So we look at things like that, and we try to provide policy advice in terms of how the country can prepare itself to participate in such initiatives. Besides the Trade and Development Desk, we also have the last desk that focuses on public finance. This basically looks at how government mobilizes resources, and also how government spends the resources that it mobilizes. In terms of the channels through which government mobilizes resources, there are actually various channels. We might be talking about one channel being through taxation. When you get your salary, I'm sure there is an amount of money that is deducted from your pay, which goes to the Zambia Revenue Authority, and part of your money also goes to institutions like NAPSAM. So through some of these resources, there's also a process through which government gets to make decisions on how these resources are going to be distributed, and this is done through a national budget. You might be interested to know the figure for 2021 in terms of how much the government plans to spend in 2021. It's actually around 106 billion kwacha. So there's always a question, now that we have given ourselves this target to mobilize these resources, where will they come from? They come from companies that are investing in this country. They also come from individuals like yourself and myself. So that means that the decisions that are being made by those that we have entrusted with the responsibility of managing affairs of our country are decisions that are of concern to us. So in a summary, that is who we are as an institution, and those are some of the interventions that we implement as an institution. Now, getting back to our topic of discussion this evening, like I indicated, we'll be sharing our views with regards to the state of the economy. And in beginning to share the state of the economy, we would like to begin by indicating that the world is currently facing a pandemic which has impacted quite negatively on a number of things. This pandemic is the COVID-19, a disease that started from China, and it has spread around the world, and a number of countries are grappling, trying to find solutions to this pandemic. This COVID-19 has actually affected a number of economic activities in a number of countries. It has also affected the ability for a number of countries to grow. We've also witnessed a number of jobs being lost. This is not only happening in Zambia, but it's also happening in a number of other countries, including our neighboring countries have had serious challenges. But besides issues related to its effects on the economies of the world, we've also seen that COVID-19 has also had a serious implication in terms of threatening the lives of millions around the world. We have lost a number of people to this disease, and almost every time that one looks onto their social media platforms, you might agree with me that we keep seeing messages of condolences, our friends indicating that they have lost their loved ones. And we've also witnessed that even people that might have been famous in our country, celebrities in the arts industry, some of them have succumbed to the pandemic. Hence, the need for us to keep protecting ourselves, protecting our families from this disease by following the guidelines that have been put forward by institutions like the World Health Organization, as well as our own Ministry of Health that has continued to sensitize the communities, sensitize the country in terms of ensuring that we adhere to basics such as ensuring that we wash our hands, ensuring that we keep social distances, as well as wearing a face mask so that we protect those that we come into contact. It is our hope from the Center for Trade Policy and Development that you are equally doing your part in helping to push back the pandemic that is ravaging our communities. When you look at COVID in the Zambian case, it has actually gone on to affect a number of aspects of our economy. It has affected production. A number of companies have faced serious challenges emanating from COVID-19. We've also seen job losses emanating from COVID-19, including in sectors such as the mining sector, where we had some of the mining companies threatening to put the mining companies on care and maintenance due to challenges that they were citing, or some of the grounds that they were citing include the challenges that are speaking to COVID-19. When you look at the Zambian economy, though, the challenge of COVID-19 came in at a time that the country was already grappling with a number of other economic challenges. Some of those include low economic growth. We also had public debt, which was on the rise, and this public debt has been a serious problem in this country, and it has affected our ability to actually mobilize resources that we can spend in strategic sectors such as health, as well as spending towards education. So one of the things that has happened is that because of COVID-19, we have added onto the list of expenditures that need attention, meaning that we are moving resources from other sectors to finance the health sector. We are also moving some of the resources that we have mobilized through taxes and spending towards payment of debt. And if you look at these combinations, we end up remaining with less that we can spend towards supporting other sectors of our economy that can help to produce jobs, that can help to contribute towards ensuring that our economy becomes stronger. And when you look at this pandemic that we have been dealing with, that I have mentioned and shared, it has also gone on to affect the way our health system has been functioning, in the sense that we are now even converting hospitals, we're converting facilities that have not yet even been finalized into centers where we can take care of the sick. Examples includes Mainasoko, which was recently converted into a center where they can also look at how to address COVID-19. So with that, one of the things that remains to be answered, or some of the concerns that a number of people have, is what will happen to us as a country. We are facing this challenge which is related to COVID-19. We also have public debt which is on the rise. It's not only on the rise, we also saw government failing to meet commitments with regards to paying obligations related to debt. Last year, we failed to meet deadlines for interest payments on one of the Euro bonds. We ended up defaulting, and currently, as we are speaking, government has reached out to the people that have lent this country resources and requested that we should be given a bit of some time so that we can reorganize ourselves and put our house in order, work around bringing a bit of some stability in the country, so that when economic activities improve, we can then mobilize resources that can be utilized to pay back this debt. So with that, it has now created a serious challenge for many people, especially when you look at young people who have been going to school, they've graduated, and they are looking for opportunities where they can get jobs. They find that the economy is not growing at the rate which can create good opportunities for them, and this is actually leading to a lot of frustration on the part of young people. But besides challenges or fears from our young people, there are also fears from the civil society, fears related to our ability to meet commitments under the budget that we have set for ourselves. So now that we have a budget of 106 billion, there's a bigger question: where are we going to get the resources to finance the activities that we have set for ourselves in the budget, especially now that a number of companies are not operating well. They're actually sending people to work from home. Others are losing their jobs completely, and this brings a lot of fears. You might want to ask, are there any measures that have been put in place to ensure that this country begins to reorganize itself, come back to a place where we can see an improvement in the number of economic activities happening in the country? Yes, from the civil society organizations, we observed last year that there was an economic recovery plan that was launched by government. The aim of that economic recovery plan is basically trying to help bring stability, where they want to restore economic growth by ensuring that there's macro economic stability, but they also want to safeguard lives. They've put together a number of pillars that they hope to follow through in helping the economy to recover, and the projections are that within the next 2 years maybe the economy can get back to normal. But when you look at the economic recovery plan, we also look at it in light of the activities that will be happening in 2021. You and I are alive to the fact that we are heading towards the elections in 2021, and as we are going towards the elections, there are questions with regards to our ability as a country to institute policy reforms, because elections tend to also bring in uncertainties. We surely do not fully know in terms of who will win the elections, and assuming that the results come and there is need for us to make changes, then it might affect our ability to implement some of the measures that we've put under the proposed economic recovery plan. From the Center for Trade Policy and Development, we also had a number of questions with regards to the other process that is happening in the country, that is speaking to the development of the 8th National Development Plan. To what extent will the economic recovery plan be in sync with the final document that they're developing, as in the 8th National Development Plan? So those are some of the things that are happening within the Zambian economy that we are in, and that has left quite a number of concerns to a number of people. Maybe another thing that is worth highlighting has been the rise of inflation. As of 2 days ago, there was an update given by the statistics agency indicating that inflation has risen to 21%. What that simply means is that people are now buying things at a price different compared to the rate or the price at which they were buying a month or two ago. And if you look at that situation, you find that people still haven't had maybe adjustments in terms of the salaries that they are earning or the income that they have. this further makes life quite challenging and difficult for most of the citizens. So as we look at some of those issues, it would be good to hear from you who is watching and following this live telecast in terms of some of the things that you are seeing within the Zambian economy, and what you think can be done in 2021 to improve the situation for the good of everyone that lives in this country. In terms of the number that you can reach us on, the number is actually scrolling down the screen. It's basically 097 859 4682. And when you call in on that number, we will be able to open up the call and interact with you, get some of your thoughts with regards to the state of the Zambian economy and what you think can be done to improve the situation in the country. Moving on in our discussion this evening, issues related to the potential that this country has. Some of you might be asking, does this country have the potential? Does this country have the capacity to develop and ensure that everyone has got a great opportunity? Does this country have the ability to utilize certain sectors and ensure that some of the challenges that have highlighted are overcome? Yes, it does. So this country actually is blessed with a lot of resources. Zambia is endowed with a lot of minerals. This country is also blessed with a lot of land that it can use for agriculture activities. This country also has an opportunity by being surrounded by a number of countries that gives us an opportunity for us to supply goods into these countries. So in terms of some of the minerals that we have in this country, the famous one that a lot of us know, of course, is copper. We have been mining as a country for over 100 years. And in these 100 years, we have been mining a number of minerals, but predominantly we have been mining copper. And the copper that we have been mining has been finding itself in a number of countries, among which includes countries like China and some other countries like the European countries. One of the challenges that we have faced with regards to the exploitation of a mineral like copper speaks to the lack of value addition. As a country, we've continued to export our copper in its raw form. This has taken away the ability for us to meaningfully benefit from this mineral. The other thing is that the exploitation of these minerals has been dominated by foreign investors for quite a long time. And this has also affected ownership. It has affected our ability to also meaningfully benefit from the resources that we have as a country. This is because if you look at the model that we have been applying with regards to investments in the mining sector, it is a model that has left the responsibility of extracting and exploiting the minerals in the hands of foreign investors. So what that has done is that it has also led to less investment on the part of Zambia in terms of processes such as geological mapping, trying to understand the quality of minerals that we have as a country. We'll be carrying on with our conversation. We have a caller on the line that I'll allow to come in. Hello, good evening, caller.
Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, calling from Chama, Kenneth Mwenda.
Yes, Mr. Mwenda.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you.
Sir, I want to... Hello?
Yes, sir.
I'm alright, sir. I want to find out, apart from copper, there are a lot of minerals that Zambia has as a country. Why can't the government look into gold, like in Lumwana Lokalumbira? Yes, we have got somewhere there. In Chama, we have some precious minerals. Even in the northern province, why can't the government take key interest in this small mining, extract these minerals, like we have some green tourmaline, Salga in Wapula? Why can't the government take key interest in this, extract these minerals, sell them, then pay part of those debts, than to depend on copper and other taxes to offset the country's debt?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was a question coming through, trying to find out why the Zambian government is failing to take advantage of the various minerals that it has, so that we can pay back debt. Not only paying back debt, there is need for us to create job opportunities for a lot of our young people. There is need to ensure that the resources that we have actually get to benefit even the communities that are hosting some of these investments. If you look at the communities that are hosting some of these investments, some of them are actually left worse off by the activities that are related to mining. In some of these communities we've been to, like Sinazongwe, you find that families actually get displaced as a result of mining activities. So it is indeed very important that this country should take advantage of the resources that God has blessed us with. And in taking advantage, we are basically saying we need to use them in a manner that ensures that everyone gets to benefit. Even as we make decisions, we should make decisions that are in the best interest of the Zambian people, transparently undertaking these businesses such that people do not feel left out. We have another caller that has come in. Okay, we have lost that one, but you can keep the calls coming through. Share with us some of the questions that you might have, but also share some of the recommendations that you might have on what you think can be done to improve the Zambian economy. So if you want to call in, the number that you can dial is 0978 59 46 82. So you will be able to reach us and participate on this program. And as you call in, always remember to ensure that you reduce the volume on your TV set so that we don't have feedback. So as we were discussing, mining is one of the sectors that offers a good opportunity for this country to gain benefits that can be used to improve the state of the Zambian economy. Besides mining, we also have the agriculture sector. So the agriculture sector gives us an opportunity for growing various crops that we can one, consume within the country. Two, we can also take advantage of existing neighboring markets and export the various crops that we can grow from the soil. I have been to places where you could clearly see that most of the small-scale farmers are willing to grow various crops, growing various crops beyond maize. But one of the big challenges that they've continued to face has been limitations around markets in terms of where they can sell their produce. An example of a place I visited recently is Kaoma and Nkeema. Interacting with the small-scale farmers there, a number of them that I met were actually complaining that for some time now they've been growing crops like tobacco, which are labor intensive, and they would want to switch on to growing other cash crops like groundnuts, except that they don't know where they can sell such crops once they grow them in huge quantities. So from the Center for Trade Policy and Development, when we see such, we look at such indications or such intentions to be big opportunities that we can take advantage of as a country when we're thinking of developing support strategies like the support that we provide, let's say through the Farmer Input Support Program. We should also be thinking through of how we can support a farmer that grows crops like groundnuts. To what extent can you support them to ensure that they increase the area of production? Beyond increasing the area of production, what can you do to also support them to know where they can take their produce? So that would actually be key in helping to unlock the potential of the agriculture sector. Beyond that, we might also need to look at the way we have been managing the marketing of crops that are coming through from the agriculture sector. If you look at our country, especially when it comes to marketing of crops like maize, our history has been littered with poor decisions related to the way we manage exports. So when you look at the positioning of Zambia, we are placed in a very strategic position where countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, countries like Zimbabwe actually look up to Zambia as a potential source for things like mealie meal, things like grain. But instead of us taking advantage of such opportunities, one of the things that we have seen is that we continue to close our borders, and in closing our borders, we often close them under the guise that we are trying to ensure food security in the country. But in ensuring food security, there are several ways through which we can do that. And one of the ways would be to encourage the local farmers to produce more, provide them incentives that can allow them to grow more, so that as a country we can have produce that is beyond our domestic and industrial consumption need, so that we can have the surplus which we can take advantage of and supply countries that are in need. We say so because we are not the only country that is looking at this opportunity. We are not the only country that is thinking of tapping into this opportunity, more especially that there is now the Africa Continental Free Trade Initiative, an initiative that creates a bigger market for African countries. It also reduces barriers that have affected trade among African countries. So with that big opportunity, one of the things that will actually happen is that if Zambia is failing to take advantage of the opportunity that is before it, we might have a situation where other countries might exploit that opportunity, and they might start supplying to these countries, and our country might actually not be in a position to benefit from the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement or initiative. Other than that, maybe we can also look at an issue related to manufacturing. We all know that if Zambia is to meaningfully benefit from initiatives like the Africa Continental Trade Initiative that was recently launched, to which Zambia ratified, one of the things that we need to do is to strengthen our local manufacturing. We need to have a lot of high quality products. We need to improve on the resources or the minerals that we have, converting the raw materials into finished products, so that we can then export them and allow them to compete favorably with other products within the region. Maybe a practical example that we can share on this platform might be speaking to what Trade Kings has done. In the past, most of us, when we went into the retailing shops, one of the things that used to happen was that every time you want to buy things like detergent, paste, you would always go to these shops, and you find that they would be dominated by products that are coming through from South Africa. But with the coming on board of companies like Trade Kings, we've seen massive production of high quality products that have been able to compete favorably with South African brands to an extent that they have actually displaced some of these foreign brands, such that Zambians can even feel very comfortable when they go into a shopping mall. They see Boom. They don't even have doubt about the product. They can easily buy. And to add up to that, you find that even the price for some of these goods, they're even cheaper compared to foreign goods. That's exactly what we're talking about from the Center for Trade Policy and Development, that we can support our local manufacturing so that they can grow, become competitive, and begin to penetrate foreign markets, begin to dominate. Only then will we get to a point where we can achieve the diversification agenda. Remember, for a long time as a country, we have been talking about diversifying this economy. But even as we talk about diversifying this economy, we also need to invest resources into sectors that we think can give us the much needed results. And the agriculture sector can be one of those sectors. In terms of trying to improve the picture when it comes to local manufacturing, one of the things that the Zambian government tried to implement was the setting up of the multi-facility economic zones. So in setting up the multi-facility economic zones, it was hoped that this country can actually make strides towards helping to improve our local manufacturing, and the intentions were that we also create incentives that were going to attract foreign and local investors to set up base in the multi-facility economic zones. But from the recent assessment that was done by the Center for Trade Policy and Development, we actually learned that the multi-facility economic zones have struggled to take off, especially the Zambian-run multi-facility economic zones. They have managed to attract a couple of companies, some of them involved in the manufacturing of fertilizer. We also have Trade Kings setting camp in the Lusaka multi-facility economic zones, plus a few other companies. And when you look at some of the factors that have led to delays in the multi-facility economic zones taking off, some of the reasons we found were speaking to policy inconsistencies. Policy inconsistency such as the tax incentives that were initially offered to persuade some of the investors to come and set base. But besides the tax incentives, we all know that before an investor gets into a particular country to bring in their capital and set up an investment, they also look at other factors such as investment protection. To what extent will their investment be protected from being taken over? That's why when we hear of takeover of some of the investments in the country, it gets concerning in the sense that it sometimes tends to send a very bad signal to potential investors who might want to bring in their resources into the country. So there is need, if the country is not very pleased in the way that an investor has behaved, that we follow through the right channels that have been set up, especially the channels that were agreed by both parties, as in the investor and the host country. Some of those channels include settling the matter through arbitration, going through the courts and having the courts to decide who was on the wrong side and who was on the right side. But if we decide to take up actions and decisions without following the due process, sometimes it sends a very bad picture to the investment community, that if you set up your investment in a country, it will not be safe. It can easily be taken over anytime without having regard for some of the provisions that are provided in the agreements that might have been signed or in the laws that are governing investment in that particular territory. So those are some of the things that can actually be done to try and help improve the situation. We need to look at the local manufacturing. To what extent can we provide support, more especially in this time when we have COVID-19? We might need to think through, in terms of support, what kind of support do the businessmen and women need? If we are offering financial support, let's say we are giving out loans, let's say we are giving out some facilities, like more recently where we've seen some creatives in the music industry receiving some support. It would also be good that we think through and extend some of that support to people that might be investing, or people that might be in businesses in the informal sector. You try and find a way of reaching out and creating some support for such businesses, because largely we have most of our people working in the informal sector. Some of them are involved in businesses where they travel to places like Asumbalesa to take animals there as some form of business, and they earn an income like that. We also have a number of people that are actually trading and selling in places like markets. So if you look at such, to what extent can you provide some support and help them to stand on their feet? An example includes the burning down of a market, city market. The market got burned down close to 3 years ago. It has taken close to 3 years to respond to a challenge like that. There are also big questions as into what happens to the mothers, what happens to the young people that were trading in a place like this. So in the past 3 years, where have they gone? And some of them, actually, their merchandise got bent together with the market. So we need to also get to that space where we think through of how we can support such businesses. As we are going towards the end of our program, I would want to just highlight a few things that are speaking to 2021. 2021 is a crucial year for this country. This country will be going towards the elections, and as it is going towards the elections, there will be need for us to actually interface and interact with a number of the players and the people that are going to reach out to us and share with us their plans related to what they would want to do for us once we give them opportunity to govern. And as we engage with such people, we need to ensure, as we engage with such people, we need to ensure that we ask about their plans. We engage them to try and find out what exactly they plan to do for you in your community. You express to them in terms of your areas of interest, so that if they are to govern, you would be comfortable and confident that they will actually govern in your best interest. The other thing is that as we look up to 2021 in terms of the elections, we all know that elections tend to be quite hyper. You have a number of people coming into communities. So if we have a lot of people that are coming into your communities to engage with you, it also brings in threats that are related to COVID-19. So if we have such situations, there is need to actually ensure that we choose to adhere to the guidelines that are provided for all of us to live by. That way it will keep all of us safe. Because if we decide to neglect some of the guidelines that have been provided by the Ministry of Health, will find ourselves on the other side, grappling to ensure that we save our lives, but with the limitations that are coming from what I shared from the beginning of this program, indicating that our country is actually going through a lot of challenges economically. Our economic growth has not been performing very well. The country has got a debt, high public debt, which is estimated at 11.9 billion US dollars. From the debt, it has put a lot of stress on the part of government to find resources that it can finance development initiatives. So that in itself also puts a serious strain even on the ability for government to finance the health sector. So you might not want to find yourself in a bad space where you end up being taken to the hospital, especially that hospitals are quite packed. So the best to do is to actually stay safe. But there are also other innovative platforms. We've got now Facebook. You can follow even this conversation live on the Ask Movie TV platform. From that platform, you can actually provide some comments directly to engage. And stations like Movie TV have actually been doing quite a commendable job in terms of ensuring that they bring alive some of these discussions so that you can watch them from the comfort of your home. So we need to do just that, stay safe, keep away, and ensure that we adhere. Beyond that, it is our hope from the Center for Trade Policy and Development that vaccines will come through. It was comforting a few days ago to hear that some vaccines have been secured for Zambia, and we are expecting those to come through. So when the vaccines come through, our encouragement is that if there is an opportunity, because we know that in some of these countries, despite having the vaccines, they've had challenges in terms of people having access. So if you have an opportunity, do not actually waste time. Ensure that you get vaccinated so that together we can roll back COVID-19 and hopefully get back to a place where we can operate normally. We have a call that has come in.
Hello,
Good evening.
Good evening, are you Mr. Mtonga?
No, this is Mr. Mwaipopo.
Mr.?
Mwaipopo.
Oh, Mwaipopo, still on TV movie?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, thank you. So I wanted to find out what you said, but the issue is I am contributing and enlightening issues concerning our economy and the debts which the country is undergoing.
Yeah.
But my main concern is, particularly Chama here, we have this chips and stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, which maybe if Zambia can take advantage of that to bring up an industry here and start manufacturing cement from here, that can also boost our economy. Then we're also looking at Zambia again taking advantage of it having a good land for agriculture. Why not the government engaging itself like with this DRC, where they can have direct trade state to state in terms of maize and process it into merry meal, so that we can have direct income to boost up our national treasury and these debits and also improve our economy. Then the current situation where we see smugglers and the ones enjoying, we see some individuals are the ones who are enjoying such trade, and yet the country is being suppressed. Using the same physical fertilizer, others are enjoying, and the government who is providing that physical fertilizer is always having that burden out to pay back. So I don't know what is wrong, why government is always looking at copper, and there are a lot of other means which government can use to put out these debits and improve our economy.
Actually, in Chama, there's also rice, if I remember very well.
Okay.
Chama, besides having those minerals that you are mentioning, also happens to be a place where they also grow rice.
Yes, there is rice also, sir.
So, meaning that that is also another opportunity that this country can take advantage of.
Aye.
And you see, we continue getting rice from Nakonde when we also have rice locally that can be exploited.
No, you look at all those things. So I don't know why as a country we are suffering when the country is rich in a lot of things which can improve our livelihood than depending on copper all the time.
I actually agree with you. So when we look at diversifying the economy, it should be a conversation around what strategic crops can we take advantage of in Chama, what strategic crops can we take advantage of in Solwezi, and these other places, so that eventually there can be a local economy in each community and people can feel part and parcel of the national economy, and they don't have to travel to Lusaka to come and look for a job, because in their communities there are also factories and opportunities that they can plug in.
That's it, sir.
Oh yes.
Okay. No, that was my contribution, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for calling in.
Okay, sir.
Indeed, the points that he has raised with regards to the opportunities that are there in places like Chama speak to the need for us as a country to take advantage of some of these opportunities, because for a long time we have been mining copper, and as we mine copper we know that there will come a time that we can't extract this mineral anymore. And when that time comes, it would be very important that as a country we should have diversified the economy. Our dependence should have shifted to other things that will actually sustain this country. But besides the mining of copper, there's also the issue of gold, which was recently discovered in places like Mwinilunga. And visiting some of these places last year, I actually learned that it's not necessarily that it was just discovered now. Actually, this mineral has been exploited for some time, except that we decided to take the process quite seriously in more recent times, after we saw that a number of people had started realizing the presence of this mineral. So with the discovery of this mineral, it means that we also need to work around developing a strategy that ensures that the exploitation of this mineral is not done to the benefit of only a few people, especially those that are highly connected or those that are just politically exposed. We need to ensure that the exploitation is done in a professional and transparent manner for the benefit of every Zambian. It would also be very important that the people that are hosting this mineral are actually taken care of. Like in these communities where the gold has been mined, the people that are staying in these communities have got high expectations. They want to benefit. I remember some of the stories that were told when I visited Mwinilunga. We heard that some of the families had actually stopped farming, growing crops, because they were expecting to extract gold, sell the gold, and have a fortune from the gold. So there is need to ensure that the needs and expectations of these communities are equally taken care of. In the past, from the Center for Trade Policy and Development, we have been advocating for the retention of a provision in the Mines and Minerals Act. That provision was actually directly speaking to how communities that are hosting mining investments can benefit from the resources in those communities. And the concept or the initiative is basically known as it's a mineral revenue sharing mechanism. So this mechanism speaks to the need to ensure that there is transference of some resources back into the communities where mining activities are taking place, to ensure that they can utilize some of those resources to improve their life, but also respond to some of the negative effects that come with mining. In the Mines and Minerals Act of 2008, before it was amended, there was an explicit provision that was speaking to this, and a percentage was actually allocated from the revenues that were collected from the mining sector to go back to the communities that are hosting the mines, so that it can help to improve the situation. So this has been our discussion for this week. We will be coming back with another exciting topic next week to ensure that we engage, and the topic will actually be announced. From us at the Center for Trade Policy and Development, I would like to extend our appreciation to the management at Movie TV for according us an opportunity to come and interact with the nation on a subject that was focusing on the state of the economy. Good night to everyone.